Welcome back into the 5 Keys to Successful Retirement. Coach Pete right here, Jeff Trouchon there, servicing all of Maine, but headquartered in Augusta. Jeff, we talk about understanding an investment's purpose. And when we talk about that, it's confusing a lot of times. What do you mean purpose? And what do you mean investment? You know, my broker says I have a retirement plan.
Yeah.
How do we really know what we have and if it's going to do what we've been promised it's going to do?
Yeah, I think the best way to understand what you have is to work with an advisor that takes an educational approach. So it really takes the time to kind of understand what you're invested in and why you're invested in it. You know, so if you're 60 to 70% in stocks and you're 5 years away from retirement, you know, why do you have so much equity exposure in the portfolio, right?
Big question.
If you're in your 40s and you've got 30% of your portfolio in bonds, why are you invested in bonds? Do you need safety at that stage in your life?
Right.
So I think having that comprehensive conversation, dissecting the portfolio and just educating clients on what they have and making sure it's in line with their goals is the best way to approach that.
So a good way to look at it is just look at the money and where you have it and say, what's the purpose for that money?
Exactly. That's
Like
exactly
if you're going to need that money for income and you need that income starting in 3 or 4 years, it shouldn't be at way too much risk, should it?
No, not at all. You really want to try to reduce the risk to the best of your ability. But you know, it's been a challenging last couple of years, right? Because you know, for most investors, for the last 40 years, you invest in bonds to reduce the risk in the portfolio, right? Well, in 2022, bonds had their worst year since the late 1800s, based on inflation and interest rates. So it really kind of woke people up to the fact that bonds aren't really risk-free. So maybe you have to look outside of market-based, risk-based accounts to provide that guarantee, that safety of principal, and potentially income and whatever that may look like.
Well, as interest rates go up, bond prices go down. So if you bought a bond a couple of years ago, it's not going to be worth what it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, look at the banking.
Now you're trapped in it.
Look at the banking crisis that we're experiencing now. You know, all these banks that invested their clients' capital in bonds in 2021, and interest rates went from 0 to 5%.
Number one, what were they doing? What were those bankers doing?
Well, when the Fed tells you they're not going to raise rates, you know, then
and then all things change.
Yeah.
Now you do a great job of color coding money, and it really helps your clients understand the true purpose of money and where it really is. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so we've really got 3 different color-coded buckets that we work with for our clients. So you've got a red bucket, a green bucket, and a yellow bucket. So what we'd like to do is really kind of take a look at what your age is, subtract that number from 100, and that will tell us how to allocate or how you should be allocated in the portfolio for retirement.
Okay.
So the red bucket is really the risk bucket. So that's where you've got any downside potential. Stocks, as we've learned recently, bonds, anything that can lose money is going to go into that red bucket.
Okay.
The yellow bucket is your cash reserves bucket. So that's really your emergency savings. You want to have somewhere 6 to 12 months worth of emergency savings set aside. It's not going to grow for you. That's not the intent. The intent is to be liquid and accessible.
Right.
And then the green bucket, which is a really important bucket as you approach retirement, is designed to give you guarantee of principal and potentially guarantee of income in the future.
So how much should one allocate to each bucket, you think, percentage-wise? It varies by age, doesn't it?
It varies by age. If you're in your 30s or 40s, I mean, I really recommend 100% in equities. That is the time where you're working, you're earning, take on risk, don't worry about bonds.
Horsepower.
Yeah, at maximum horsepower.
And you have enough time and a longer runway, we see, to recover from the fluctuation of the market.
That's right.
And the market will fluctuate and hopefully end up higher in the long run.
Hopefully. Yeah. And again, if the market drops 30 or 40% and you're in your 30s, you should be excited about that because now you're getting everything on sale. You know, but obviously if you're at the later end of that spectrum, the other end of that spectrum, that changes. If you're 60, 65, really you shouldn't have more than 30, 35% of your portfolio in the risk bucket. You really want to focus on safety and protection. So when the market does struggle, you have peace of mind, you have confidence knowing that you're not participating in that downside and the anxiety that comes with it.
Yeah, it's a whole lot easier to manage risk if you don't have all your money at risk.
For sure, for sure.
And then when we come back, we're going to talk about how Social Security fits in all this too. And this is a very, very important topic. But if you're interested in meeting with Jeff, getting that color-coded allocation of your money put together and understanding what money really means to you and why it's there in the first place, why it's in different places, Jeff will put together a plan for you that makes a lot of sense. All you have to do is call the number you see on the screen.